69 years ago today, in fact, a spark was ignited in a soul, invisible at first, but manifest on the public stage when that spark erupted into American society and changed our history forever. And the event went down in this way. There was a throng of people after a long workday who crowded into a city bus on the streets of Montgomery, Alabama. The bus driver, however, noticing that several white people were standing while some black passengers occupied seats, asked those seated passengers to surrender their seats to the white travelers. It was, at that time, a standard request. In fact, it was also the law. 3 of the black passengers did leave their seats and they headed to the back of the bus. But Rosa Parks refused. Now, her refusal came at great personal risk. She was arrested and she was fined not only for the offense, but for the court costs, neither of which she was willing to pay. She exposed herself to harassment and death threats and attracted the attention of the nation, much of which, as you can imagine, was not positive. And all of this, seemingly over something as small as a bus seat. But was it that simple? Years later, when she's writing in her autobiography, she's addressing this event in her life and what was going on, and she explains the rationale behind her decision. She said very simply, I was tired. Not physically, existentially. She said, I was tired of giving in. And behind that is a profundity that is not difficult to deduce. Tired of playing by the rules of a broken system. Tired of compromising her conscience just to avoid conflict. Tired of sacrificing herself and her dignity so that she could get by with the bare essentials of human existence, like having a job, being able to acquire food or a sense of security. Because these things made for some kind of peace that for whatever reason, for a while, she had been willing to tolerate. Until something within her said no. Some spark ignited in her soul in a moment of total clarity and personal honesty. She was tired of pretending that this was enough, because it wasn't. And in this, she's not alone. See, part of maturity involves the unhappy discovery that all of us live in a broken world. It involves letting the Disney magic of our youth give way to the harsh reality that the world, in fact, is not fair. That much of society is decided upon by elites who have their own agenda and they don't care about you. That much of culture is shaped and determined by the propaganda machine brought to you by the media and pop culture and a hijacked education system. That much of life is to grind all week long at our jobs and then watch as half of our paychecks get swallowed up by taxes and misspent by politicians on petty rivalries, knowing that there is pretty much nothing we can do about this in a definitive manner to change it. Aren't you tired of that? But see, the mistake that people often make is to think that the solution is to change the externals. If we could just change our laws or reform our healthcare or education system, if we could get the right politician to come along and rescue us, if I could just make more money or live in this neighborhood or marry this person or marry at all, then I would be better off. But you see, we're just moving the furniture here. And the furniture really isn't the core of the problem. The spark of honesty that has to take place in all of us is acknowledging I'm the problem. And together, between the external chaos and the internal disorder, peace is impossible. And that's what the readings really bring up to the surface. Like Jeremiah's prophecy of consolation comes to a people whose world is an absolute mess. They have been exiled into a foreign nation. They are no longer able to operate under their own laws. They have no rights. There's no voting. This isn't a democracy. They are the scum of society. But they are also so broken internally. They are ruined by sin. They are torn by guilt. They are crushed by shame. And because of this, God's people are exhausted, absolutely exhausted. And they're turning to God for help. And his consolation is to promise them an heir to David's throne. Doesn't sound like it's super helpful, but it is because of what David did. David understood where true peace comes from. And he said that in our psalm today, Psalm 25, which he wrote. In Psalm 25, David is pursuing peace by praying for protection against his enemies, the furniture. Lord, so structure the furniture that it is conducive to flourishing. But then the majority of the psalm is the internal work, asking God to forgive his sins. Pardon my guilt, for it is great, he says. And to request that the Lord teach him to live the righteousness of God. He says, make me know your ways. Teach me your paths. Because he knew that this truly is what makes for peace. That peace is found in God alone. And so in this way, the church is offering us on this first Sunday of Advent a proper start as we embark on the season of hopeful expectation. Today, the word invites us to acknowledge where real peace comes from. First of all, by recognizing there is a restlessness within us. We are tired, and to tap into that. But then second to that, to recognize that changing the externals isn't going to be enough. It's an inside job. Because real peace comes from Jesus Christ, the true heir of David's throne, who cleanses our conscience and reconciles us with God, who teaches us God's ways and sets our feet on a path of goodness and truth. And anything less than this is just more of the same. And Rosa Parks' genius in that moment was to recognize she was tired of pretending that more of the same was working, because it wasn't. And if we're willing to get honest, we'll say it still isn't. But Jesus Christ comes to show us the way to peace.